Five, five, four, three, two, one.
Shooting the shiznit, shooting the shiznit. Best little wrestling podcast in the business. Your host BT and all his guests. You'll never know who he'll have next. Shooting the shiznit, shooting the shiznit. Best little wrestling podcast in the business. Shooting the shiznit.
We're live from STS Studios in Jonesboro, Arkansas. That's right, 9 o'clock p.m. It's my bedtime, Neil. I have the real deal, Neil Taylor. How's it going, man? Long time no talk to.
Man, we haven't spoken 10 years. It's been a long time since we've seen each other or talked.
I know. I was looking for you because Dustin mentioned your name, and I was just like, let me look him up there on Facebook, and then you weren't anywhere to be found. I was like, what the hell?
So you deleted me. Just go ahead and say it.
I probably did. You said something political, or I got tired of hearing about you hitting the road, or I got jealous about something. So there we go.
I promise you, in the last 2 years, you haven't heard anything about me being on the road, and probably not nothing political. I try to stay away from that stuff.
I know the thing that people get tired of me probably is I just promote the hell out of this podcast, and I don't say nothing about anything else. And when I do, it's like. I even had people piss me off because I'd put a food photograph up there and someone would go, man, that looks like shit. I wouldn't eat that. I'd be like, damn, just give it a break, man. Just give it a break. All right, man, we're going to talk about a little bit of everything. I want to start right at the beginning, and I kind of know this answer, but me and you've known each other, but we really hadn't just sat down and bullshitted. Maybe a couple times, but nothing where I know a lot about you. What I want to know is you growing up as a fan. And what got you hooked on professional wrestling?
Oh my gosh. I literally remember the first morning that I watched wrestling. There was on USA on Sunday mornings, everybody remembers All-American Wrestling, right? WWF All-American Wrestling. Well, right before that, I think it was He-Man. The cartoon came on. Well, I loved He-Man. So I watched He-Man. I was watching He-Man one Sunday morning and just left the TV on for whatever reason. And, All-American Wrestling came on right after that, and I literally remember them recapping WrestleMania 5. So, yes, I'm telling my age right now, but I remember them recapping WrestleMania 5 and me just kind of thinking, I don't know about this wrestling stuff. And before you know it, I sat there and watched the whole thing, and oh, my God, 35 years later, here we are.
So it wasn't Memphis wrestling. See, anyone growing up in this area always says Memphis. I talked to Brett Michaels on Tuesday, and we talked about him growing up in the area and watching Memphis wrestling. Yours was WWE, huh?
Yeah, it's kind of odd. It's like I discovered everything backwards. First started watching WWE, and then got to watching a little bit of it was NWA then before it was WCW, and then I actually didn't really discover Memphis wrestling until around 93, 94. And I got in this conversation with Mr. Coffee one time, and he said, son, you missed all the good stuff. And I was like, well, that's me. I'm always late for the party.
Yeah, I mean, I started in 78. I'm a little bit older than you. So, and then it seems like everybody in this area, that's what they started on. So tell us, who were your, I wanted to say fan favorites, but you being the fan, who was your favorites growing up in the WWE there?
Oh man, it was nothing but Hulk Hogan. I was the biggest Hulk Hogan fan ever. And I remember watching WrestleMania 6, and when Ultimate Warrior beat Hulk Hogan, I literally went into my front yard and cried. I did. It was like, no, they cannot beat Hulk Hogan. But Hulk Hogan, I was a big fan of. Believe it or not, Jim Duggan. I like Jim Duggan. I liked when I finally got switched over to WCW. Of course, everybody loved Ric Flair. I was a really big Doom fan. Remember Doom, Ron Simmons and Butch Reed, and
we just lost Butch Reed too.
I know that's so terrible, and I actually got to have a conversation with Ron Simmons one time about Doom, and but those were kind of the ones that stick out first and foremost to me.
It's funny because, at that time I was quote unquote the smart fan. I was getting the Observer, and Dave Meltzer was telling me everything. So I hated Hulk Hogan. I liked him at first, but then I hate him because I was a smart fan. So I went back and watched a lot of his stuff. I guess it was about 5 years ago, and there's nobody except maybe Jerry Lawler that really understands being a babyface and taking the beating and then making the comeback. And if you could ever understand that part of it and taking all that heat and what it meant, then he was one of the best ever when it came to that. He's controversial, so what the hell, he does all kinds of stuff. All right, I want to take you, can you tell the story when we first met? Because me and Gene's told the story a couple of times, but do you remember when we first met?
It seems like I do, and you're going to have to forgive me, Brian, because everything runs together with me.
Oh yeah, dates.
Dates, times, and places, and I literally have people come up to me now and it's like, "Hey, you remember we worked together one time?" And I was like, "I think so." And he's like, "Oh yeah, well it was for company XYZ and blah 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 blah." And it's like, "What town was it?" And they would tell me, and it's like, "Okay." I think I remember, but I remember you and I meeting. I remember us doing a lot of communicating, and seemed like we first met at IWF, right?
No, it was Mid-South out for Killer. You and Gene was there for Killer. And y'all was, I can't remember who y'all was feuding with. Didn't y'all burn a Confederate flag or something? Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Y'all got a little heat for that. So.
Oh my gosh. We I remember that. We were working with Kilo and
Southern Pride.
Yeah, Southern Pride, and what was his tag partner? Kane.
Yeah.
Is it Kane or something Kane? It wasn't
Citizen Kane. It was
Citizen Kane, not the big red machine Kane.
Right.
But I remember it was one Sunday we did this thing where we were Southern Destruction, which meant we hated the South and that whole thing. But it was the commissioner, and I can't remember his name, but we literally took a
Mike Anthony.
We took a lighter fluid bottle and filled it full of water. And we went out, jumped him, rolled him up in a Confederate flag, and hosed this thing down with what was supposed to have been lighter fluid. And oh my gosh, those people came alive. Gene, and I don't know if Gene's told you the story or not, we actually had a lady and her grandson follow us to a gas station like in Humboldt.
Oh my God.
And it was a little bit of a scene there for a second until Gene got the card. And I think the quote was, and I don't know if I can really say this or not,
yeah, you can say anything you want to. We're not for the kiddos.
Lady, you better get in your car and go home. The show's over. And guess what? She got in her car and she left. The show was over. So
the reason I remember that is it's happened to me only a few times. I hit Dakota with the clipboard and she bladed, and her head when she came up with her head, the whole crowd went silent. So the crowd's real hot for you guys. They're giving you all kinds of heat. And then when you're getting ready to light, you can hear just a silence outside. And I remember saying to somebody, "What are they doing?" And they said, come here. And then when you go to light, Southern Pride hits the ring and clears y'all. It was hot again. But there's some silence. When you hear silence in little crowds like that, you're doing something right or doing something wrong. I've told Gene, I had a black tag team. I wanted to call Ghetto Fabulous. I'll probably get canceled on Facebook for this, but I wanted to call them Ghetto Fabulous Ones. They were going to jump Southern Pride and hang them with nooses. And for some reason, they didn't want to do that. I don't know why people don't want to do my angles. So.
I can't imagine. I don't know how anybody could pass up on that angle, Brian.
All right, let's talk about IWL. Talk to me about it. Here's something funny about IWF. I remember you and Scott Porto, Mike Jones, whatever the hell you want to call him now, pulled me to the side one night after y'all had a plan for me. And
I remember this.
You really didn't think that I would do it. You were just like, he's not going to. You told me, I don't know if he's going to do this. You told Mike I wasn't going to do it. And tell everybody what the story was written for me.
Well,
I loved it, by the way.
We had a guy by the name of Steve McCoy who had wrestled around the area for a long time, never really got outside of Tupelo, and like I said, he greatest guy in the world, but and he could do all the moves and everything, but charisma wise at that point, he was kind of missing the mark a little bit. Well, I'll never forget it. We were at my house, and at the time, Mike and his then wife was actually living with me. We were roommates, and he came out of he walked in the house off the back deck, and he said, "I've got an idea for Steve." And I said, "Okay." He said, that Coach BT guy, the one that totes the clipboard, wears the jerseys and everything? I said, "Yeah." He said, "Don't they look a little bit alike?" And I was like, "Well, number one, I don't really know BT well enough to say that to his face." And but
we kind of did. Yeah, you look like my younger brother, really.
Maybe that works. And I said, "Well, okay, yeah." He said, "What if we put him as Steve McCoy's manager, and we started calling him Sexy Steve, because in all honesty, there was nothing about Steve that was sexy."
Right.
I was like, "I think that will work." I said, if BT will go for it. And he said, "Oh yeah, go for it." So anyway, we had that conversation at TV. You were all about it. And dude, Steve was one of the most over things on the whole show after that. I mean, it worked so well. Yeah, it was.
But I knew you had Jimmy doing commentary, so right. I couldn't be plus him. And then you had the manager with Leslie, so I knew my role would be small. So what's my role going to be? It's just going to be coming out with my boys. As soon as y'all wrote the storyline for me, and during that time, Neil, you don't know this, but I never let anyone write anything.
Really?
No one wrote shit for me for any of my angles. When I was in Mid-South, you name it, the only guy ever to write anything for me was you two guys. Oh, wow. And the Golden Boy came up with an angle, and I helped him through it. But that was the only people that I had actually let write anything, because I wanted to be in control of everything. No. Well, I was a superstar,
Oh, well, we all were. We all have been at some point, or at least thought we were.
What I want to say about IWF, and if no one has ever watched the TV, which I need to know how I could get those tapes, by the way, I would love to watch that stuff again. But what do you think? Now, I wasn't doing that kayfabe sheet at this time, but I remember talking to you and Psycho, and y'all had the absolute biggest pops, except, if I was in WWE or something like that, you two had the biggest pops coming out that I think, independent-wise, in that little building, that I had ever felt or heard the crowd be so freaking loud. What made that crew so over? What is it, because it was TV and y'all were considered TV stars, or what do you think there?
I had a big family.
Oh, come on, Neil. It was huge. Man, Psycho didn't have anyone there but me. So what the hell?
Well, Psycho and I are totally opposite ends of the spectrum. I think it worked with Psycho because everybody liked that gimmick, that look. And I mean, Psycho was 6'4" and weighed 300 plus pounds. And I mean, he looked crazy. I mean, there was no doubting him, when you saw him, come through a curtain or be in the ring. Me, I don't know really what I don't know. I think a lot of people, because I was kind of the young guy then, my God, during those days, I was either 19 or 20 years old, and now I'm 39. So that seems like it's so far away. But maybe I was just the young guy that, was always fighting from underneath. Kind of maybe an ode to Jerry Lawler, the fact that, I always fought from underneath, and, people just got behind me. I guess they could relate with what I was doing. Maybe I don't know, I would always go to the ring and give it all I had, and did the best I could, and it worked out.
I said something about you on Brett Michaels' show. I don't know if you had a chance to listen to it. I said, Neil, to me, was never a great wrestler,
No,
but he was but you were a great worker. There's a difference in my mind. And you understood psychology quicker than any of the other guys from Mississippi did. And you understood what you had to do to get over and when to make the comeback and when not to make the comeback. Take the beating for a little bit longer. Don't die completely. Things like that. You understood that quicker than I think. Now, the other guys were a lot more skilled than you were, but you understood what you were trying to do out there as a babyface. I tell you what, we're going to actually go off of my personal Facebook page. If you're watching it on Shooting the Shiznit page, just go ahead and keep watching it, or you can go to YouTube and watch it. Audio version, we are going to go to a commercial break, and we'll be right back with Neil Taylor. And I'm going to ask Neil, what did you think about my yearbooks, Neil? All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey, we're back from commercials. We want to thank our sponsors. Neil, there was always a joke that I got a picture of me and you, and you're holding a yearbook that we did for WrestlingRideOnline.com, and you got your nose all snarled up, and you wanted to give me hell about them all the time. What did you not like about my yearbooks?
Well, but those yearbooks, to me, I mean, I know you put a lot of work into putting those together.
Just be honest. Yeah, I don't care.
Well, I'll tell you. I mean, I was just like, he's copying and pasting every post he's ever made on his website and just publishing it. True. I mean, I was like, this is y'all act like this is the Great Gatsby. It's not the Great Gatsby. It's just he's taking a bunch of Facebook posts, copied them, and put them in a book. Well,
it was a website. Yeah, but you're right. Yeah, that's what I did. I just, but you got to remember my idea was to get more people to come to the website. These people in these towns had never, ever seen the website or anything like that. So that was my idea. Me and Gene talked about this when I was with him and his new partner there about some of the guys were mad because I owed them money. Because their picture was in the yearbook. And if you don't know what we're talking about, I did Wrestling Ride Online. I did yearbooks every year. Actually, if you go to my link in my Twitter at ComicBookBartBT, you can still order those yearbooks. I'm going to send Neil here a couple of them, and so he can look over them again.
Please do. Yeah, I actually kind of remember some of that now. You're really jogging my memory tonight. I remember some of that now.
Yeah, we took a picture. You was at an XOW show. I went with Psycho to the show and did a report. And I told Brett the other night, I think that was, and I can't remember who you were wrestling, but it was one of the better matches I ever seen you in. You had the crowd in the palm of your hand. And at one point, everybody thought you were doing near falls, and no one knew what the hell a near fall was. But all of a sudden you did a near fall. Everyone thought you won. And then you gave it back to the heel. Tell me something. I always went to Mississippi, and I know you remember this. I had Mississippi Heat. You remember I had Mississippi Heat?
Oh,
because
yeah.
I would go to Mississippi and I would come back and I'd say, Mississippi still sucks. But these are the list of guys that are still good. And it would be Neil Taylor, Brett Michaels, Tony Dabbs, Chris Styles. Y'all were always the guys that I put over, but everybody else I said were worthless and they shouldn't be in the business. So did you get heat from any of that? Did you get heat because your name was on the list?
No, I don't think I ever got. I got heat just because I was who I was for whatever reason. I just kind of drew heat to myself, I guess. But I don't know. Maybe that's a testament. You haven't been back to Mississippi since, have you?
Oh, no, I haven't.
Well, here we are then. Okay.
I was, I did go back and I got chased out of the dressing room. So,
oh my God,
because of a story that I did. Watts, what was his name? Tony Watts chased me out of him and me and Psycho drove for about 3.5 hours. And Psycho looks at me and says, well, you ready? We'll go home. And I said, no, we're not going home. Well, I can if you want to. And I said, no, Tony, don't bother me. I understand. All right, let's talk about, we talked about IWF. I want to talk about, you're doing EPW now, and I see your picture. So what is your role there? Are you coming out as a commissioner? You're doing the Eddie Marlin thing, and I know you're working backstage, but what is your actual role there in front of the crowd?
Well, as far as in front of the crowd, I'm the commissioner of the show.
All right.
I guess you would call my role now is I'm the promoter. I'm the promoter of EPW Wrestling now. Kind of a managing partner, I guess. We kind of call it 2 or 3 different things because Bone Crusher and I are we're kind of partners in it. But for the most part, I promote it. I do a lot of the creative, although I have kind of pushed that off on somebody else because just between managing everything else and the marketing and everything, it's a lot. And then I tell everybody I'm like the hardest working broke person ever because I have like a regular job, which I help run an arena here in Mississippi. And then I've got like 2 side businesses. I have EPW Wrestling and then I have Hot Tag Media. I've got 6 website clients that I deal with. So I keep a pretty busy schedule. So hence the reason I talked to you. Like, I think we talked like 2 different times where I have to push this time back. I'm like, I'm tied up with this. Like, we're going to have to wait or whatever. But, and I've got way out in the weeds. But, basically I promote EPW Wrestling. We're right there in Boonville, have been for 15 years. I started promoting Boonville Wrestling, October 2018, I think, something like that. It was October, but I've enjoyed it. I decided to walk away from wrestling in the ring in September of 2019, and I enjoy what I do now. I really like it. It's I think anybody that wrestles and gets in a ring needs to be a promoter at some point because you really really look at everything totally different. But man, I'm loving it. We're right now we're doing great things in Boonville. We've got a lot of eyes on us now, and we've worked really, really hard. We have a very, very good team there, and I love it. I've enjoyed the last couple of years.
What me and Brett talked about this. What is it because Boonville's so small, or what do you think makes you have such a fan base? Because even in the day when I was covering the shows, Boonville and TIWL, the weirdest things, but they were still drawing people when no one else was because there's nothing else to do in Trenton, Tennessee. And you work TIWL, so that. Is that one of the reasons that Boonville, because I know Dundee had a run there. I was always critical, not as a person because I don't know Bone Crusher, but I remember writing. I looked at the XOW show, and I remember writing. Wasn't impressed with his ring work, but man, he is over. I mean, the crowd absolutely loved this guy. So what do you think?
They still do. And they still do.
Cool. Yeah. What makes Boonville? I mean, what does it make everyone want to go there and watch as fans, not as workers, but as fans?
It's interesting because and we actually have a couple of tools in place with our website, epwwrestlingms.com. That we can kind of see our demographics of kind of where we draw people from. And it's interesting because we actually draw a very small amount of people from actual Boonville.
Oh, wow.
We have people that drive every week all the way from Olive Branch. We have people there from Tupelo, which is 30 miles south of Boonville. We do have some people there in Boonville. We draw some people from Red Bay, Iuka. So just that general area, I think it's just a testament to the show and the fact the show has been there so long, and just a great group of talent that we have there now. And they come back week after week, and we've consistently done really well. Of course, with any business, you have certain times of the year and certain things that you kind of have lulls, but we've done really well. We have a great team, and all the guys work hard. And
You
I
know,
think
something
that's
that's coming across to me, Neil, that doesn't make other professional wrestling
it.
shows successful is they don't treat it like a business. And all I can hear you saying is, I'm a businessman. I'm a businessman. I do this. We do this. You even know when the downside is. Okay.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with me. I treat my podcast like a business. I know when I'm going to have the most hits. It surprises me sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't. But
Right.
I've always done that. Dakota Riley says one of the best promoters ever had the chance to work for. We had a comment there. 5-star fan cam. Hey, Fred, glad you're here. You do a great job,
Fred.
Neil. And Walker Sorensen said, "What's up?" So thanks for listening,
up?
guys, and watching. Boonville was always. I never went. I don't think I ever went to one show. It's really weird because I always went to. I don't know. I went to a show one time, and I think it was some kind of benefit. It lasted forever. It lasted forever. And then when I came back, that was another one of those shows where I said, okay, Neil's good. Tony's good. Mike's good. But everybody else sucks. But yeah. It's one of those things. All right, let's talk about Memphis Wrestling. You're going to be involved at Memphis Wrestling backstage. And Dustin, actually, I don't know if he mentioned it on the show, but he did tell me way ahead of time, hey, Neil's going to help, blah, blah, blah. But you had a stint in Memphis Wrestling and before this too, right? I've got a question. I got something for you. I hope you do laugh at it, but go ahead. You had a stint there.
I'm a good sport, and I'm very much a realist in the fact that, hey, it is what it is, and it was what it was. I did. I worked there while during Corey Macklin's run in Memphis Wrestling. I believe it was on UPN then. And
right.
You know, it was. It was what it was. I went in, put guys over. But you know, it was something I always wanted to do, and I got the opportunity to do it, and I loved every minute of it. You know, I've got about a 6-inch gash on the side of my head, like right in here somewhere, that I got it live on Memphis Wrestling one morning, which is a very, very funny story. But well, it wasn't that funny, but it was funny to me now. But you know,
go ahead, tell it. How'd you get the gash?
Remember the insane, crazy clowns?
Yeah, the poker face and Rude.
Yeah. And Rude and I have this ongoing joke that he tries to kill me every time we get in the ring together. But
hey, it's the opposite for me. I tried to kill Rude a couple times. I think I broke one of his ribs. So yeah, there you go.
Well, I think I like you better now because Rude seems to have it out for me. But they were doing this crazy clown gimmick thing or whatever. We make the hot tag. Me and Tattoo are tagging. Make the hot tag. I come in, House of Fire, whatever. I go to the second rope to punch. I'm working on Poker Face. Here comes Rude with this big pot thing or whatever that has confetti in it or something. He hits me with it, but when he hits me with like the brim of it, like on the bottom where it kind of turns up to the side. And he hit me, and I remember thinking that burned a little bit. And I take the bump on the mat, and I'm laying there. They do the pin, 1, 2, 3. Tattoo slides in. He goes, "Man, are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I said, "Am I bleeding?" He said, "Oh yeah, you're bleeding." And I could actually hear Corey Macklin go into commercial. And I thought, okay, I've got to get out of this ring because they got to clean it up, and we're live. We got to I've got to get out of the way. So I roll out of the ring. There's a big bloody spot on the mat. I come through the curtain, and who is the next segment? Jerry Lawler. So he looks at me, he goes, "What in the hell have you done?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. I think my head's busted open." He said, "Well, let me see." So I still go where he goes, "Oh, that's about 8 staples." I was like, "No staples for me." So I go to the dressing room. Wasn't the dressing room. I go to a break room. I managed to change clothes with one hand with a towel on my head on the other. And I go down to a CVS on Union Avenue. Now, mind you, I still have this bloody towel on my head. So
that's normal. That's normal.
Oh my God. I meet this lady at the front door. She goes, "Oh my God, baby, did you get shot?" I was like, "No, ma'am, I was on the wrestling TV show." He goes, "Oh, okay. Well, here, come here, and I'll help you out." So she got me some stuff together to bandage my head up, and I literally drove 2 hours home to Tupelo with my hand propped up and holding this towel on my head. But and that's my Memphis wrestling memory. And I, like I said, it was what it was, and I loved being there. I've only seen like a couple of matches.
I would have loved it too. Yeah, it was one of those things where I'd love to have. If I was going to do Coach BT, it would have been Memphis Wrestling. That was just one of those things. I want to ask you. The weird thing is, the first time we met, we have a friend in common, in JD McKay, and y'all couldn't believe that I knew JD McKay. You're like, Jay, what the hell? But JD had a chance too. He did a lot of jobs there on television with you. But what I want to ask you about, and I know you get ribbed about this, you got to. People got to ask you about this. Was it Bill Dundee? The Bill Dundee pile driver. So talk to me about the Bill Dundee pile driver. How did that? Was it worked out, or did he just decide? Tell me about it.
So I don't even remember in the context of the show how this came up or what it was about. But there came, for some reason, I came in and Dundee was going to give me a pile driver, and I was going to go down, and that was kind of the whole thing, putting Dundee over. And I remember him coming to me, and Dundee said, "Yeah," he said, "I'll kick you, you bend over, I give you the pile." I'm like, how is this going to work? Dundee is like 5'7", 5'8". I'm 6'2".
Right.
And I'm 300 pounds. There's no way this is going to work. But hey, it's Memphis TV.
It's Bill Dundee.
Bill Dundee telling me what to do. Hey, I'm going to do all I can to make this work. And oh my Lord, it looked absolutely terrible. And Derek King takes every possible advantage of telling me how horrible that was, because it literally looks like I bent over because I tried to do it, and Dundee, we just rolled over each other. It was horrible.
It was horrible, but you know what? You telling the story there, all I could think about was, I'm going to pat you on the back now, okay? Because if Dundee would have said that to me, I probably would have just laughed, got in my car, and said, "See you later, bye," if you're doing a pile driver.
If Dundee, on Memphis television, if Dundee said he was going to give me a power bomb through a bag of dog doo,
you was going to do it, brother.
How do we go into this?
Right. But yeah, it was one of those things that I never said anything to you really about. I don't know if I really gave you hell on this on the website about it, but
you're the only one that didn't.
But I remember, as I'm getting ready, I hardly ever do any prep, but I wrote just some interview questions down. I was like, the thing I remember about Neil and Memphis Wrestling is that fucking pile driver from Dundee, and I've got to give him hell about it. Let's talk about, we got Memphis Wrestling coming up. First of all, tell everybody, and Brett told everybody, but I want you to tell everybody real quick, EPW, we talked about it. It's in Boonville, Mississippi, every Saturday night. Just put it over real quick. Promote it.
1714 North 2nd Street, Boonville, Mississippi. We're there every Saturday night. Bell time 8 o'clock, doors open at 7. We feature some of the, I would say some of the hottest local talent, but hey, we've grown and tried to bring in outside talent that's never been seen here before. Guys like Bam Bam Malone is there this weekend, who is also working the Championship Wrestling from Memphis TV tapings on Sunday. Francisco Chiazzo, we've had Ace Austin in a couple of times. So we've really tried to grow outside of North Mississippi in this area to try to get in talent that people have never seen before. And,
I noticed that you got Rhino coming next month, but I noticed something about you guys, the EPW, that I've been, and it's maybe since you started doing a lot of stuff with them, is you guys are not falling back on the Memphis Legends. And I want to ask you something about that here in a minute, but you're not falling back on the Memphis Legends, and you're bringing in people like you just said. And I remember telling a promoter, I said, man, you need to bring some guys in like that are hot, independent, all over the United States, do something different. They would, Michael Elgin and people like that at the time. And people don't want to see them. And you guys, I heard y'all had a big crowd for a little guy in Hornswoggle. So
man, it still blows my mind, the Hornswoggle thing. That show has been there, like I said, for probably 15 years or longer. And we brought in Hornswoggle, and it was the largest crowd that has ever been in that building at one time. I was literally afraid that the fire marshal was going to come in and shut us down. It was that bad. I mean, the aisles were full. I mean, you couldn't get anywhere. And it was.
I
It
did actually a show in Potts Camp, Mississippi, at a fireplace that I thought it was
a fireplace.
The fireplace. What's
fire department?
Fire department. I can edit that out, by the way. The fire department.
You can't. That's great.
Fire department that I thought we was going to get in trouble for. Well, that was a sad thing. There were so many people in that little place in Potts Camp. Tell us, what are you going to be doing? Dustin says he's going to be working backstage. What are you going to be doing for Dustin and Championship Wrestling for Memphis? The new Memphis Wrestling.
The new Memphis Wrestling. Well, my role there is, I guess I'm a little bit of a producer. I'm a little bit of a stage manager. Basically the timing of the show, keeping things moving, making sure people are where they need to be. Which is something that the agent role, as far as wrestling goes with WWE or anywhere else, is something that's always been very interesting to me. And, I'm getting the opportunity to do that. Learning from somebody like Dave Marquez is huge to me.
Oh yeah.
And I'm really, really looking forward to that. And just keeping things going. And, I'm excited about it. I really am.
I'm really excited about it. We're doing the official podcast here at stspod.club. Roll it into Memphis. We'll be reviewing the show. But what I want to ask, Dustin said this on Gene's podcast. He said it on his own Memphis Live podcast on Facebook one day, and got a little heat for it. But I want to hear your opinions on this. Bill Dundee, Jerry Lawler, those guys, they're too old to be in the ring. He doesn't want them in the ring. He didn't want them to wrestle on the show. And what he's saying, and you know what he's saying, but what he's saying is, we could use these guys in a commissioner role like the Eddie Marlin we talked about, but we don't want them in the ring. What's your opinion of the legends being in the ring again?
This gets me in trouble. I think that at some point, and listen, I'm a big Jerry Lawler fan, Mark, whatever you want to call, I'm as big a fan as there gets.
Sure.
Bill Dundee is somebody that I have grown to really love him to death. He's become a friend. We've made a road trip or two together. Love Bill to death. But, there comes a time when, and I mean, this happened for them. There was a time when Jackie Fargo said, it's time to put over the young Jerry Lawler. It's time to hang it up. And, I don't know so much of Jerry Lawler is in that. When people tell me how old Jerry is, it's like I don't see it. And I don't know, maybe it's the fan in me. But, Jerry still looks good. He still performs as well as he did in the 80s to me, because, Lawler is, I fashioned myself as a babyface after Jerry Lawler. He didn't have to do a lot. All he had to do was sell. And that's how I learned how to get over. But I just think there comes a time when everything evolves. And I think that it's now. There hasn't been Memphis Wrestling on TV in several years. There's an opportunity for it now with a new group of guys, and hey, why not?
I agree 100%. I have. We've talked about this on the podcast. I've been doing this podcast again for 4 years, and I'll bring it up that. And you tell me if I'm wrong. When Jimmy Hart left, I'm going all the way back to Jimmy Hart going to WWE. The only two guys I can think that they made was Brian Christopher and Jeff Jarrett. Now, PG-13 might be in that because Randy really worked to get them over.
Right.
But that was the only other stars that we had. Maybe Kevin White, too. Kevin White got a good push. But that's the only other stars that we had. So it's time to and now you got Alan Steele, you got Derek King. They're kind of the veterans. They were on Power Pro. But then you got guys like Brett Michaels. I told Brett, and I texted Dustin today. I said, here's a guy that's going to get over. You bet he's going to really get over for you because no one has ever seen this kid. And he's not, but that's the way I look at him as a kid in wrestling. And he's got the body, he's got the look, he's got the charisma. He's going to get over big time for Memphis Wrestling. But that's what I'm excited about. I'm excited. Number one, I told Dustin, look, I'm the kayfabe guy. I'm the guy that Memphis Wrestling never wanted to be any part of. But when you started doing what you did, you reached out to me and said, look, you want to do a review podcast? Is that what you want to do? Blah, blah, blah. I become part of it. He's the only guy in Memphis Wrestling to do that. I'm 54 years old, been watching it since 78. I'm so fired up about it, you know. Yeah. But I think I think you all understand that y'all are not disrespecting the legends.
Absolutely.
You're just retiring them. And eventually they have, I know that sounds bad, but eventually they do have to retire. And I think you put it right. You biggest fan, I am too. Jerry Lawler and Bill Dundee were my two favorite wrestlers. Jimmy Valiant as a heel, I just love Jimmy Valiant.
I just can't imagine. I've seen some video of Jimmy Valiant being a heel, but you know, and I guess I think about my experience working with him, and it's just like, how can this man ever be a heel? How do you not like Jimmy Valiant? He's such a great guy.
No, I love it. When I was a kid, I was in 6th grade. I drew a tattoo of Jimmy Valiant on my arm, and I've told this story I think one time on here, but I drew the teacher said, "Did you draw that on your arm?" And I said, "Yeah." She goes, "Who is that?" And I was so fucking offended, Neil. I was so mad that she didn't know that was Handsome Jimmy on my arm. I mean,
she may have thought it was Moses or something. Maybe she thought you were really into the Bible.
Yeah, that might have been. Hey, man, I wish y'all all the luck. I know you're going to love doing what you're doing down there. And you know, me and you both know Dustin's a great guy. Dustin has been a fan and has been wanting to do this for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And he is going to, you guys got a good crew. I wish you the best of luck. But put over anything you want to put over, your Twitter, your Facebook, and then we'll get out of here.
EPWWrestlingMS.com, the website. Go and check that out. We do discount tickets every week for those that go and buy them online. You can follow us on Facebook at EPW Wrestling MS, Instagram at EPW Wrestling MS, and Twitter at EPW Wrestling MS. And we got to work a little harder on the Twitter, but we are on there. We got a huge show coming up March the 13th, Crossroads Clash, where we have ECW original, WWE star, current Impact star Rhino coming in. James Ellsworth and Gilbert. You referenced a while ago of, you know, people bringing in folks you'd never thought of, and hey, Gilbert will be in Corinth, Mississippi, March the 13th at Crossroads Arena. Very, very excited about that. And what we were just talking about, Championship Wrestling of Memphis debuts February 27th on television. The first TV tapings are this weekend. And it's exciting. I'm excited to be right in the middle of the independent scene.
I feel that way too, but I've told everybody no spoilers. I don't want anybody to. When I was in Memphis Wrestling, I used to get the spoilers from a kid in the dressing room. I'm not in the dressing room. He was in the crowd, but I remember Corey going into the dressing room saying, "Who the hell told this Tremble guy this? Who the hell?" And it wasn't none of the guys in the dress. They were all innocent, believe it or not.
That's happened in the last 10 years. You just don't know it. Who told that Brian Tremble guy all this stuff is putting on this website? What is this website?
Anyway. That got told a lot of times. So a lot of times, you know, until I started doing the website, there's a couple of things. Number one, some people didn't even know what kayfabe, the word kayfabe was. And number two, I would count the people in the crowd and multiply it by the number, or someone would say we had 120 and I'd put the gate up there and the boys would be going, they said we didn't draw, but you know, $100. And I'm Lord. No, it's $5 a head times 200 people. What is that? And no one knew. They would get mad at the promoter because they were kayfabing them, telling them they didn't make any money. There was Jonesboro was sending me fake numbers so that, they had, how would you send fake numbers? You had 350 to 400 people in the building. Okay. But they told me they only had 120 to 200. so that the boys wouldn't know what the gate was.
Nobody. Have you ever had your house burnt down? I'm just
No.
asking.
Don't say
Okay.
that. Look.
Okay. It's a wonder it didn't happen then with some of these promoters.
Oh,
Wow.
I had, the funny thing, and me and Gene talk about this all the time, and people that just started with this STS pod club don't understand that everybody hated BT. Everybody hated BT. All right. Until BT stepped in the dressing room, and then they all kissed my ass. So that just the way it was. Everybody but Alan Steele. And Alan Steele said, "It don't matter what he thinks about the matches. Don't y'all get it? It doesn't matter." That's what. And I was like, "Alan, don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody that."
Killing the gimmick,
That's
brother.
my gimmick, man.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Same bad time, same bad channel on the best little wrestling podcast in the business. Be there, and Neil. You don't know this, but I love my mama. Thanks, man.
That was fun. Appreciate it.
Yeah, that went real good.